Welcome back to Living Limitless, Play Your Way to Freedom. I am Andrea Luzon. I am so excited to introduce you to Mitzi Bachman. Unless you already know her, but if you don't, she is a New York based certified life and lover coach who works with people all over the globe to help them get the life and the love that they have always dreamed of. Mitzi, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, Andrea, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yes. So, in your own words, tell us more. What is a lover coach? I'm really curious about that, and what inspires you to keep doing this type of work?
So, it's a love coach. Just so, yeah,
Oh,
not love
lover. I was like,
coach.
ooh, lover
Yes.
coach. Okay.
I know
Okay.
that sounds
Yeah.
a little bit like, ooh.
Ooh, lover coach. Rare.
um, so for me, I started out working with clients, mostly women who were just struggling with being women in the world. And one thing that I really started to realize over the course of the work is a lot of these women were really struggling with broken hearts, either a big breakup or a dribble of life's thousand little cuts breaking them down. And so I really started having, from my own experience going through a divorce and from the many women in my life who I've worked with, I really started to see that this was such a pain point that people really need, both men and women, to get them through a really tough time, to give them some perspective and give them tools to help them move forward. So it's wonderful work for me, especially because people call me and they are in so much pain. Um, and I can help them very quickly um, recognize the pain and learn how to start working with it.
And how does one evolve into this? Or did you have, I think I heard you say you've also experienced heartbreak. I mean,
Yes.
probably all of us have, but
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your journey. Did you get inklings throughout your childhood and your teen and college years? Or were there breakdowns to really break you through something to get into this work?
Right. Well, I remember my first heartbreak like it was yesterday. I was ninth grade and Bobby Fortunato broke up with me for Katie Hill. And I remember so well going home and crawling into bed and my mom coming up and I told her what had happened and she let me stay home from school and she fed me Jello. So I remember so well my first heartbreak and how devastating it was. It's the worst pain I've ever had. Um, and over the years, yes, I had my heart broken over and over and over again. I had, like many people do, I had real attachment issues. So I really wanted, I believe that in order to feel whole, I needed to be loved.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I really tended to push away love because I wasn't sure that I was worthy of it. So um, I had a lot of affairs. I mean, a lot of love affairs over the years. I got married when I was 30, and I was married for 20 years. And when we met, we were different people than when we started having children. And over the course of the 20 years, our marriage seemed to turn into more of a friendship than a love affair anymore. And both of us, I think, were feeling very lost because of it. Ultimately, my husband walked out on me for his college girlfriend about 10 years ago. And while I knew in the moment, and I know now it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me, it was just beyond devastating that I had been cast aside by the father of my children and the person who promised to love me forever. So I feel like I had the ultimate heartbreak, being the heartbreak of my family breaking apart. So, and then I started dating at the age of 47. So, and learned what heartbreak was again, right, from shorter relationships. So,
Mhm.
um, for the past 40 years I've done nothing. I just feel like it's been a series of heartbreaks that still I live with and I still think about sometimes. So my goal has really been to help people, especially I work with a lot of younger people who are just going through this for the first time, to get some perspective on the heartbreak, to get some perspective on their role in a relationship, to get some perspective on their who they are both in the relationship and now that they're going through the breakdown. Things that I wish I had had some perspective of when I was going through my heartbreak.
Yeah.
Because when you're there in the heartbreak, you're just drowning. And your friends will tell you that your person sucks and that you're perfect and right, that, suck it up and move on, you'll be fine. But there's so much more to it than that. So I always tell my clients that I'm a friend without an agenda. So I'm someone who's there to tell them like I see it, to help them find the answers that are inside them without having, any skin in the game per se. Like I'm not the person who they're going to go out dancing with tomorrow night, right? I'm the
Yeah.
person who's objective,
Yeah.
and informed and experienced around this.
Hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah. You're bringing me back to elementary school breakups.
Ah,
And not that, and I think I'm laughing because I think it's something we don't give enough weight to in our society. I mean, what you're sharing right now is, I'm linking it a little bit to trauma, the
mhm,
stories that we made up about ourselves when those breakups happened. Like,
mhm.
so and so broke up with me and started dating so and so, to a 10-year-old or an 11-year-old or a 12-year-old or 13-year-old or whatever. The
Yep.
story that you make up about
Mhm.
what does that mean about me,
Yep.
and how do I have to change to like get, be in the next relationship or get him back, or that's so
Or
interesting.
or you think you're never going to be loved again.
Yeah.
Like that's what I find. I mean, I remember 17 years old and having my boyfriend break up with me, and I thought, what if no one ever loves me again? And
Yeah.
that's what I hear a lot from people. And a lot of that is because at the end of a relationship, people often don't feel worthy of being
Mhm.
loved. I just got off the phone with a client who was talking about her first love, um, 15 years ago, who breadcrumbed her, right? Who just gave her a little bit and then took it away, and then gave her a little bit and then took it away. And now her marriage is failing, and she's spending a lot of time thinking about that relationship and the decisions she made in that relationship and how it's formed her into this person whose marriage is failing. So we really had to talk about her mindset around that and her perspectives and the truth behind these things that she had in her head, um, in relationship to that heartbreak and now the heartbreak of her marriage slowly dying.
Yeah.
And they're different, but they're connected in so many
Mhm.
ways.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's connected because of who we see in ourselves around these relationships
Mhm.
and the truths
Yeah.
we tell ourselves, I believe.
Yeah. So in the story that you just shared, I'm sensing that the woman, okay, so there's this catchword that we say a lot in our society called a trigger, or being triggered, or she triggered me, or that triggered me. And
Mhm,
it looked, I think I just heard you say that someone is going through a breakup, and then that is triggering like these memories, or this belief, this old belief that like I'm not worthy of love, or something
mhm,
like that. So in your
mhm,
work, I think I'm hearing that you help people through exactly that, these stories that we tell ourselves from when we're younger, or when we were damaged, if you will. So
mhm.
what does a trigger mean in your line of work, or in your life? How do you move through a trigger, or how do you help a client move through an example of a trigger?
So for me, when I was going through my divorce, I discovered cognitive behavioral therapy.
Hmm.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it's therapy that helps you manage your thoughts, address
Hmm.
your thoughts, um, recognize a reality around your thoughts. So for me, dealing with triggers is very much about recognizing where the trigger is coming from and my reaction to it, right? So I
Hmm.
often refer to something that my ex-husband does that triggers me, right? Whatever it is, right?
Hmm.
But if he does something that triggers me, I used to just fly off the handle.
Hmm.
Now what I do is I look at where he's coming from and why I'm reacting the way that I react. So one thing that involves is really not taking things personally, right? So if he does some jerky thing, instead of me thinking, oh, he's disrespecting me, or oh, he hates me,
Hmm.
or he's purposely being unkind, I think, okay, this is standard behavior on his part,
Hmm.
right? He's not really the kind of person who would do this spitefully.
Right.
So really it's about um, changing my thoughts, changing my thought patterns about
Mm,
it. I find so many people, this phrase, if he loved me, he would do this,
yes.
right? Like my present boyfriend, who I love more than anything except for my children, um, you know, this summer we were having an issue around some long-term COVID um, visitors, and I was getting increasingly frustrated that they were still in the house. And I could have said, "If you loved me, you would make them leave," right? But I knew it wasn't about that. I
Yeah.
knew it was about his situation around our COVID borders. So that really helps. So, and I always encourage my clients to do that too. Like if someone's doing things for you, look at their motivation because you know them most likely. Look at their
Mhm.
motivation, see if they're really doing what you think they're doing, and then
Mhm.
adjust your reaction to that accordingly. And it takes some work. I mean, this isn't something that I just learned how to do overnight. It takes some work and takes awareness. And
Mm.
I'm a huge believer of the effectiveness of awareness in our lives.
Yeah.
Just being in touch with where you are emotionally, where you are physically, where we are in this crazy world we're living,
Mhm.
and what a difference that makes in our ability to react to things.
Yeah. That's amazing and wise. So checking in with what's the motivation of the person or the situation, but usually there are humans involved in most of our
Well,
triggering
that's it.
situations.
We're all imperfect, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
like I have issues around my mom and the way she parented me. But now as a grown up, I'm realizing she was just a girl in the
Yeah.
world whose mom didn't do a very good job. She didn't know what to do with me. It's not her fault, right?
Yeah.
And knowing it's not her fault makes it much easier to accept what happened and
Yeah.
move forward.
Right.
Yeah.
And also standing up for yourself. So standing in your power. So
Mhm.
is and where I'm coming from on that is I love it's part of one of Brene Brown's talks, and I have really tried to implement this in my life, and sometimes I forget and I get to do a better job. But she was saying that, when you are totally in the story of this person is hurting my feelings, and you have looked at their motivation and you're just trying to think, I do not know what is going on, but I'm feeling hurt. And I love how she has said, hey, I'm feeling called to talk to you about something that's really pressing on my heart right now. When you XYZ, the story I made up was that you don't love me anymore, or
Right.
that you don't care about my feelings, that
Right.
and then I just adore how that, I need to have a hard conversation with you and I'm not exactly sure how to do it, but when and I can't figure out what happened, so can you help me, because when you XYZ, I made up this story that you did
Mhm.
it because of ABC. And
Mhm.
I love that seems to soften it so much. Actually, I did that with my husband last night. So I was like, yay. So I remembered the skill, the toolbox piece last night, and just was able to, instead of pointing the finger and being like, you made me feel XYZ,
Right.
or you
Right.
always, and that makes me feel blah, blah, blah. But I really was able to say, hey, I see that you're, feeling a little upset right now, and I'm feeling upset too. When you XYZ, I was feeling like like you were shutting down and pushing me away. And then
Right.
he was able to say, no, I'm just feeling my feelings right now. Not, it's
Exactly.
not anything you're doing.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is all about how we're feeling too, right? I mean, not you always do this, which we all do, right? But more about when this happens, this is how I feel.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
you can't argue with your feelings,
Yeah.
right? You can say you're being a jerk, unless you know I'm not. You say, you hurt my feelings by doing that. They can't argue with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
They can try, right? They can't
Right.
necessarily concede.
Yes. That's
Yeah.
always the fun one. You hurt my feelings when you XYZ. It's like, no, I
Yeah.
didn't. Yes. No, I didn't. Okay. Well,
Yeah. It doesn't get you anywhere.
right. My feelings are hurt. But yeah, that does seem to soften it.
You hurt me, right? Or
Yeah.
my feelings got hurt. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for walking us through some of the techniques around triggers. That is really helpful. Uh, So I am curious. We talked a little bit earlier about the concept of demonstration, and I
Mhm.
feel like you kind of have walked us through some items from your work that you're demonstrating. Is anything else coming forward in regards to a process or anything that you want to showcase?
Well, one of the things that I do with my clients, that I think is really effective is, we have the sessions, and after each session, I send an email kind of summarizing what we talked about, which people say really makes a huge effect, because they can really reflect. We
Mm,
all get caught up in what we're talking about, right? But when they see it in writing afterwards, it gives them a tremendous amount of support that they can also reach back to look at when they're struggling. And I also am available to my clients by text message, which is another effective, really effective tool I find, because we all have crises,
yeah.
but it's not often when we're talking to our life coach,
Yeah.
right? So for me, my clients can reach out to me between 9 a.m. and 7 p.m. if they need me in the moment. And I find it incredibly helpful,
Yeah.
for them and for me, because we really get to know each other really well. And I can help them in the moment. So I think that's a really effective part of working with somebody, is being there when they need you, if only
Yes.
just for a few words.
Right. I totally agree with that. And also, I love the notes aspect. I think that's pretty rare when it comes to any kind of therapy or coaching. It seems like that could be better utilized of,
Mhm.
here's what we talked about and here are some of the skills and tools that we talked
Yes.
about.
It's especially effective for the men, I find. A lot of them say that they really, as men often do when talking about emotions, they tend to get overwhelmed and their
Mhm.
mind kind of goes blank. And so they're trying to absorb all this, but sometimes they have a hard time doing it. So they love seeing it in writing afterwards because it's much more concrete for them.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
does make sense. And also having your own words repeated back to you often is just like, oh, is that really how I feel about that? You
Right.
know, like
That's true.
hearing
That's a
that,
good point. I never thought about that.
yeah, hearing it out loud. Now that you mention it, like, so
Right.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Of
So
course.
let's talk a little bit about play. The title of the series is Living Limitless, Play Your Way to Freedom. And I
Right.
know I'm always looking for incorporating more play in my life, getting back to that childlike nature and kind
Right.
of just being a little more fun because I know I'm fun. It's just that I get I get tunnel vision. I'm just going in the direction. So, how do you, Mitzi, bring play into life or work to be stepping into your power and your freedom and to
Right.
feel more expansive?
Right. Well, one of the things, in a course, I'm building a course right now about letting go of love, and moving on. And one of the exercises that we do in there is getting in touch with who we were as a child,
Mhm.
and it's favorite foods, favorite games, best friend, favorite television show, just really trying to reconnect
Mhm.
with that person, because I think so many of us just grow up and let go of that child, especially if we've been damaged. We were talking earlier about our children, and I would imagine with you having 7-year-olds, you're
Mhm.
going to play, right?
Yes.
And I remember when my kids were younger, I played more, but as they grew up, I found myself not playing as much. So
Mhm.
um, it's interesting. The love relationship that I have now is full of a lot of play, um, which is really fun. Just in our lives, we giggle and we joke and we poke each other, and I feel very fortunate to be in my primary relationship is like that. But I also, I love to like dance around the living room. My favorite thing in the world to do is to drive my car with the sunroof open, singing show tunes really loud, right? I
Mhm.
love to hike. Getting to the top of a mountain is amazing for me. Last year before COVID, I went to Peru and I hiked 7 days. We did 17,000 feet, reached 17,000 feet, which as a 53-year-old, I felt pretty damn proud of. I try to, I make an effort to get my heart up, my heart racing again, and I feel like that's my play when your day can just kind of be like one thing at a time. And then you get your heart rate up and you just feel more alive.
Yeah.
So I make it a part of every day, no matter how much being adult that day has consumed me.
Yeah. So you're incorporating play into your daily life.
Yes, because sometimes
Yeah.
it's just not enough room to make it just about the play, right? Sometimes it's like between sessions, I'll dance around the living room or play with the
Hmm.
cat or,
Yeah.
go for a walk.
Yeah. Animals are great for that.
I'm a new cat person. My
Oh.
dog, I've always had dogs, 25 years of dogs. And my dog died last year. My kids are gone, so I decided no more dogs. So I have a cat,
Hmm.
and I'm totally becoming a cat lady. And I hung a bird feeder outside, so I'm a bird and cat lady. Can I just say? Which is
You're
great. I have
you're
a great cat.
evolving.
I know, or
You're-
something.
Yeah, you're letting yourself shift, but
Exactly. I'm letting myself shift. I
yeah.
feel like a different person. It's interesting.
But you
Yeah,
have like the tower with like bells hanging off of it.
I do. It's right over there.
Hmm.
Usually when I'm on the phone, she comes to visit, so we might meet her.
Okay,
You'll
that's fun. I grew
Yeah.
up with cats and dogs, and then I married someone who's highly allergic. Like when we go to someone's house, there ends up being like, all the veins start to pop out in the eye, in the eyes and everything. So I don't get to have cats right now, but I miss them. There's just such an interest. They're so different
They are.
than dogs.
Well, and this one's actually a Devon Rex cat. My daughter's highly allergic, so they're hairless.
Mm.
So
Yes.
she's not really hairless. Like I wish you could meet her, but she doesn't cause allergies.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So
Yeah,
just in case, maybe
I
someday,
get, go ahead. What?
maybe someday you can have
Maybe
one.
someday. Yes, I get to be more expansive around the cats that don't have hair because I see pictures and friends who have posted videos and it's just like, wow, that's really different.
We'll have to get her to come visit because she's got hair. She's just not like cat, that
Right,
shoots
fuzzy.
all the hair. Yeah, she's a
Yes,
redhead.
she's not a
Yeah.
puffball.
No, not a puffball,
Gotcha.
but very
Gotcha.
sad. Yes. Anyway,
So when I say living limitless,
yes.
what comes forward for you or how do you incorporate it or help your clients incorporate that aspect into their life?
Well, going back to the awareness piece of it, right? So I find a lot of people have self-awareness that they've buried
Mm-hmm.
or they push back on. So for me, I believe that if we are aware both of our emotions, of our relationships to other people, who we are in the world, it opens us up to just a huge amount of life and love, as opposed to keeping ourselves walled in, keeping ourselves blocked. Um, it really prevents us from moving, from opening ourselves up to the world. And I know when I was married and a mother, I mean, I'm still a mother, but when I was raising my children and I was unhappily married, I very much had boxes all around me, trying to protect my heart, trying to protect my mental health from completely falling apart, trying to protect my children from the world. So I had just built a series of boxes and breaking out of them was almost impossible for me, because I felt if I did, I would lose control of the world. So now I've really worked on having awareness of myself and my place, either with my mental health or my environment or my relationship with my children, literally casting off those walls that I used to have around myself and
Mm-hmm.
opening myself up to whatever's there, whatever presents itself. So it's awareness. For me, I believe that the key to my how well I'm doing in my life right now is the awareness that I have about myself and where I am in the world.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So awareness equals living without limitation.
Hmm. Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping yourself open and
Yeah.
not boxing in your heart or your body or your soul. Just being aware of keeping things open.
Yeah, I think that those marry really well. First, you have the awareness, and then you get to see where you get to open.
Hmm. Hmm.
Where have you been holding back? Because what do you not want to feel?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because I believe that people are scared of feelings because of the pain,
Hmm.
right? Like it's not necessarily the feeling that causes a fear, it's the pain that causes the fear.
Yeah.
The fear, I'm sorry, the fear of the pain, as
Hmm.
opposed to the fear of someone getting mad. It's the pain that we will feel if someone gets mad,
Right.
because our body evolutionarily doesn't want to feel pain,
Right.
because then we die,
Right.
evolutionary. So that's a
Yes.
real something that really holds us back, I think.
And now,
Is
since we're not being constantly attacked by tigers and bears and saber tooth, all the things,
right.
now like our fear is in, how is that person going to treat me?
Exactly. I
Yeah.
think if we were more threatened by tigers and bears all the time, we might not be so sensitive.
I really feel like you're onto something. I feel like, tiny villages living in huts where there are predators around them all the time. Maybe they're not so lost in all this, oh, my feelings because someone looked at me sideways kind of stuff.
100% agree. Right. We have too much
Right.
time on our hands, believe it or not, to think about things.
Yeah.
And our thoughts derail us.
Mhm.
And it's something I've learned more than anything. We have these thoughts and we think that they're supporting us and we're following our gut or whatever, but our thoughts can so derail us.
Yeah.
They're almost like our worst enemies sometimes.
Yeah. That's really interesting because yeah, you're thinking ahead instead of acting like, I am naturally a pretty silly person and I
Yep.
want to be silly. And we were listening to it was my kids were online together in their classroom it was the start of the
Mhm.
day. And thankfully the teacher does play a song. I think it's a good morning something, but it definitely involves movement and dancing.
Mhm.
And my
Yep.
kids sometimes will do the hand gestures, but neither of them hops out of their chair and dances.
Right.
Sadly, we get to work on it. But so
Yep.
I was off camera in my pajamas, like dancing just like really weird and just looking. And then it flashed through my mind like to look at the screen to make sure I wasn't on camera. But that's interesting though, because so what? What if I was on camera in the background, like dancing in my, it was like a hoodie and pajama
Right.
bottoms.
Right.
But
Oh, yeah.
and then it was just like that. It's so interesting. I don't want to embarrass my kids. I don't want the teacher to think I'm weird. And then I was realizing, who cares? You
Your
know?
7-year-olds.
Well, my 7-year-olds might care, right. They
That's good.
actually smiled and laughed, but maybe if I was on camera, I don't know, hopefully they're not at that age yet, but my son
No,
does
no, no.
have that, like, "That was embarrassing," like, I don't like being embarrassed. He can't watch movies where someone is embarrassed.
My
Like,
son can't either. He gets
oh,
so
really? That's so interesting. Like, he'll fast forward or he'll cover his face or he'll cry.
Yep, my son, when he was his age, same thing, and still sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. But
Yep.
yeah, what you were saying about the, being aware and then being open
Mhm.
of the things that we get to let go of
Yep.
because otherwise we're living with the fear of what will
Okay.
we feel? What's the pain we're going to feel when that person experiences me
Right.
in whatever way we think they're going to experience us?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm going to dance on camera more often.
I know, I know. Do you watch This Is Us?
I have watched a few episodes. I feel like I've watched all the things, but This Is Us just kind of missed. I
Well,
missed it.
there's a scene where the guy's a city councilor and he's given a presentation and then it's over and he thinks his intern has turned off the camera, but they haven't. So he gets up and he's going running. So he dances behind his chair and he's built, which is lovely, but he's got music going and he's dancing, he's taking his shirt off. He takes his pants off behind the chair and it's hilarious. And of course it gets captured. It goes viral he's mortified and his kids, his daughters are just like, ah, but him doing that, him opening himself up like that caused some positive repercussions, which was really interesting. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
isn't that, yes, I love that. I love that. I think we all get to, and he was being himself.
He was
He
being,
wasn't performing,
no,
was just feeling goofy and acting in the goofiness
yep,
and having fun changing from suit to running clothes. And
right.
who doesn't want to dance around when they're,
Partially
changing
naked. Yes.
partially naked? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that's really fun how that it was like he was forced to like live life a little bit bigger because everyone got to see that side that he was hiding.
Yeah. And he was very much a regimented character and just kind of let it open. And it was interesting. And it changed his life. Some things happened afterwards from his actions doing that. So
Yeah, I love that.
yeah,
So I feel like we talked a bit about practices because we were talking about play and you did kind of share with us a lot of practices, but do you have a morning routine or a night routine that propels you forward and keeps you in a higher vibration?
absolutely. I do yoga every day, every morning.
Hmm.
Um, and to be honest with you, sometimes in front of This Is Us or Grey's Anatomy, like not
Yeah.
always just, getting it into my brain, but it's, I get up in the morning, I make tea for myself and get my boyfriend out of the door. So I have the house to myself. And then I do yoga and then I make my bed. I have a very me centered morning, often just until 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
it's a great way for me to start my day. And I have my breakfast is just a cup of miso soup,
Hmm.
which gets my metabolism going. It feels good. It's full of probiotics, so it feels really good. And I try to go for a walk every day. I'm not so good now that my puppy is gone, but I do try to walk every day.
Hmm.
Um, I take really good care of myself. I'm actually allergic to sugar. So I know, and I have been since my daughter was born. So I don't ever eat sugar, which makes me very thin and healthy. But I also make a real effort to um, keep my body nourished with good food. I mean, don't get me wrong, French fries, pizza, love those things. But it's really important for me to keep my body feeling strong because I've learned that when my body isn't feeling strong, my head is way off. My emotions get way off.
Hmm.
So I have my little things I like to do every day, and I make sure I eat well and I sleep well. And those are really, I think those are the foundation for me being able to both live a good life, but also to support others.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. And we talked a little bit about this earlier. Do you feel that creativity and resilience are intertwined?
Absolutely. We talked about this a little bit earlier, and I was thinking about the times where I was really struggling
Mm.
and where I needed to access some resilience.
Hmm.
Um, for me, my creative outlet has always been writing. I do have a blog. I blog twice a week, and I have for 2 years about relationships, about living with mental illness, and when I was going through my divorce, I every morning I got up and I would write freehand stream of consciousness, just 3 pages, just dumping everything out of my brain. So, and from there, I could tap into this creativity, specifically around writing. That has really, it's helped me get me stronger. It's helped me reflect on what I was dealing with. It's also given me some success. I've had those blogs. The Huffington Post picked one up. Psych Central has got them. I mean, they're out in the world and people are reading them and they're reaching out to me. So I feel like my resilience has been exponentially um, reinforced with the creative force of my writing.
Mhm.
So yes, I think they're definitely intertwined.
Yeah.
I think it's all intertwined.
Right. Right.
And creativity and play, these are all things that were gifted to us.
Mhm.
I don't know, not genetically, but it's part of the world we were born into, right? And so if you think again about, survival of the species, play and love and creativity are all things that have always been there to help us stay strong in the face of saber-toothed tigers, right? I mean, even back then they drew on the rocks,
Mhm.
right?
And danced
And
and
danced
sang.
and sang. Exactly. So
Yeah.
I think it's part of the human experience of living well and being strong.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Making up games with sticks and rocks. All of
Oh,
it.
I know. Just think of all
Yeah.
the things we did when we were kids. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I
Yeah.
am hearing that creativity kind of recharges the battery.
Absolutely. Oh,
Yeah.
for me, writing, exactly. And it's funny because I'm not really creative otherwise I started cooking again, which I really hate. But I'm learning that, I mean, it was horrible cooking for my kids forever, like they never want to eat anything. But now I have a boyfriend who'll eat anything. And the creativity of cooking too. And there's something
Mhm.
about the process, the cutting and the combining, and then having this thing that makes that feeds people literally, right?
Mhm.
Right? I mean, and creativity, people always say to me, well, I can't paint, I can't draw, I can't sew, right?
Mhm.
Creativity is what you make.
Right.
Gardening is creativity. Cleaning your house can even be creativity, right? There's creativity in so many places that we're not even aware of.
Mhm. Indeed.
So nobody's allowed to cut to say they're not being creative in their world, right? Just have some awareness around it and look at where there is some creativity in your life or where you could incorporate some.
Yes. Yes, and cleaning can be exercise. So that's also fun. You get to
I
be creative.
clean to
Yeah,
music. Yep. Yep.
sweating
I
while
dance and I clean.
mopping. Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
then walking around looking at how clean your house is.
Mhm.
I love seeing how the house is clean.
Mhm. Decluttering is good for the brain, clear space, clear
Decluttering.
mind.
Right. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
So I am, Mitzi, I'm so excited to continue to follow your work. I'm loving this blog and that your writing has been picked up in so many places. I want to give our audience members an opportunity to work with you more closely, to experience your work. I understand that you have a perk or a gift that you would like to share, and please tell us how we can get it.
Yes. So I referred to it earlier. I have a course that I've just made.
Mhm.
It's going to be um, out there in the world the first week in February. And it's the title of the course is 4 weeks to letting go of love and moving on. And the content of the course is 4 weeks of activities. The first week is about getting through and learning to manage the pain of a broken heart. The second week is about getting to know yourself again, rebuilding your self-esteem. So many of us do lose touch with who we are when we're in a relationship. Either we change ourselves to fit into the relationship, or perhaps it's a toxic relationship where we've been abused on some level. So I feel it's really important to get in touch with ourselves again. And one of the exercises in there is what I was talking about, the touching base with the things you enjoyed as a child. And then the third week is about taking stock of what you want, having refamiliarized yourself with who you are, and learning how to manage the pain. So you take stock of what's next. And then the final week is about putting yourself out there, whether it's to start dating again or whatever the next steps are that you've decided. So the course works together. It's based on years and years and years of working with clients. It's based on my own personal experience. A number of my clients have used it. They've been testing it out for me, and many of them recognize things that I've encouraged them to do over the years. One of them said, I never did any of these things. And I said, I know. But she says, now seeing it in writing in a format like this makes me really see why I need to do it. And I did it. So that's the course. I'm really excited about it. It's going to be available the first week in February. But for now, if you're interested in the course, you can reach out to me. Andrea, I think you have you're going to have you'll see the contact information. You can reach out to me. And if you use what's the phrase?
Oh, Living Limitless,
To,
or
yes,
mention the
Living Limitless.
interview. Hmm.
You should
Yeah.
mention it in the contact. And when you write me, I will give you 25% off. I'm going to give that for the first 5 people who get in touch with me. So reach out to me, 25% off. I think the course will really, really help you, especially if you're struggling right now with that pain of a broken heart. And if you are struggling right now with that pain of a broken heart, I am so sorry, because I know that there's nothing worse in the whole world than going through the pain that you're going through right now. So I hope, feel free to reach out to me, contact me, and I would love to give you guys that free gift. And I would love to talk to anybody about anything. When I coach, my first session is free. So again, you can reach out to me on my website for that as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Mitzi. So there is an audience member who is hearing your voice, hearing your message, and this person's life is going to shift exponentially should they work with you.
Right.
What would you like to say to that person?
I would like to say to that person that I know it sounds like too much to be true, but a lot of my clients tell me that in the first hour of talking to me, their life shifts dramatically. You know, I listen and I hear and I have a ton of experience, and I feel like the person who you want to be, who you've always thought you could be, who maybe you don't believe you could be right now is right there, like right below the surface. And that talking to me and processing things with me, we can just start drawing that person out right away. We can start giving that person the skills and the self-awareness um, to get the life you want. You know, it's not going to happen overnight, but we can get it started. And the first step is the hardest. And the first step is where I can get you in just the first time of us talking. So you have it in you. It's right there. You just need some help drawing it out.
Yay.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Somebody's bell just went off.
That was mine. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Well, I'm hearing what you're bringing forward, and I encourage you, listener, to reach out to Mitzi, to click the link below to get access to her contact form, mention this interview, and you two get to work together. Discounts and ebooks. It's going to be amazing. I know that we've all been up and down the road of heartache and heartbreak, and the evolution that you take people on just sounds transformational.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's fun. We have a lot of fun too. We
Yeah.
do.
So we get to go back to the theme, which is play.
I know.
Um,
Very important.
so Mitzi, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you
Audience
for having
members, thank you. And audience members, thank you. This has been Living Limitless. Play your way to freedom. I am Andrea Luzon. I can't wait to see you here again next time. Thank you so much.